In the summer of 1987, a small, unassuming migrant camp nestled deep within the dense forests of Oregon vanished overnight. The camp, home to dozens of workers seeking a better life, was suddenly abandoned, leaving behind only echoes of laughter and the faint scent of cooking fires. Families who had called the camp home disappeared without a trace, their stories swallowed by time and silence. For 30 long years, the fates of these individuals remained a chilling mystery, haunting the memories of their loved ones. Then, in an unexpected turn of fate, a park ranger named Sarah Whitaker stumbled upon a hidden tunnel while conducting her routine patrol in the remote area where the camp once stood. This startling discovery reignited the long-dormant investigation, sending shockwaves through the community and reopening wounds that had never fully healed. What had happened to the people who once thrived in that forgotten place? Was their disappearance as simple as a hasty departure, or was there something more sinister at play? For the families left behind, each passing year felt like an eternity. Among them was Maria Gonzalez, the sister of a young mother who had vanished alongside her children that fateful night. Maria had spent decades trying to piece together the puzzle of her sister's life, navigating through a labyrinth of pain, unanswered questions, and the haunting specter of hope. "You never really give up," Maria once said. "You just learn to live with the uncertainty, and every now and then, a flicker of hope reminds you that they're still out there somewhere." As Maria began to learn more about the new evidence, she felt a surge of determination rush through her. She knew she had to investigate this clue, even if it meant facing skepticism from those who had long since deemed the case unsolvable. With every new piece of information, Maria was drawn deeper into the complexities of her sister's life before her disappearance, a life that held more secrets than she could have imagined. The tunnel discovered by Ranger Whitaker wasn't just a remnant of the past, it was a conduit to the hidden truths of what transpired that night. As Maria began her search, she encountered individuals who had once lived in the camp but were now reluctant to speak of those times. Their memories were clouded, their silence heavy with unspoken fears. What had they witnessed? What secrets did they carry? The investigation quickly revealed that the camp had been a melting pot of lives intertwined by circumstance, but it also hinted at a darker underbelly, a world of desperation and hidden struggles. As Maria pieced together the stories of her sister and the other camp residents, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone horribly wrong. With every interview, every whispered revelation, the unsettling notion grew that the disappearance was part of something much larger, a tangled web of deceit that stretched far beyond the camp itself. As she delved deeper, Maria discovered that not all was as it seemed in the lives of those who had vanished. Some had been living under assumed identities, cloaked in shadows of their own making, while others carried secrets that could shatter the very foundations of their lives. The more she uncovered, the more questions arose. Who had the most to gain from the camp's sudden disappearance? Who stood to lose everything? With each passing day, the urgency of her investigation intensified. Maria realized that time was not on her side. The secrets of the tunnel, the lives it had touched, and the darkness that had lurked just beneath the surface were all intertwined. She needed to confront those who had evaded the truth for so long, to sift through the lies and half-truths that had clouded the case for decades. As the investigation gained traction, Maria faced obstacles that threatened to derail her progress. Authorities, dismissive of her efforts, insisted that the case had gone cold for a reason. They had moved on, but Maria refused to accept that. She was fueled by the love for her sister, the memories of happier times, and the belief that the truth had not yet been fully uncovered. Yet, as she pressed on, Maria couldn't escape the nagging feeling that she was being watched. Shadows loomed in the corners of her investigation, whispering doubts and fears that threatened to consume her. Was someone trying to keep the truth buried? Or was her pursuit of justice putting her in danger? The deeper she dug, the more she realized that the truth behind the disappearance of the migrant camp was not a simple story of escape or neglect. It was a complex tapestry woven with threads of betrayal, fear, and survival. A story that would take her to the edges of her understanding, and perhaps even challenge the very fabric of her own life. As the echoes of the past began to resonate in the present, Maria knew she was on the brink of uncovering something that could change everything. With the discovery of the hidden tunnel, the long-dormant case had been awakened, and the search for answers had begun anew. What revelations awaited her as she ventured deeper into the shadows? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. The truth was out there, waiting to be found. The hidden tunnel, an unexpected remnant of a forgotten past, sparked an insatiable curiosity within Maria. It felt like a direct connection to those who had vanished, an unspoken promise that answers lay just beyond her reach. With each day that passed, she found herself increasingly drawn to the tunnel, its mouth like a gaping wound in the earth, begging to be explored. Armed with a flashlight and a notepad, Maria decided to return to the site. Memories of her brother's laughter echoed in her mind, fueling her determination. As she descended into the darkness, the air grew thick with moisture and the scent of earth. The faint echoes of her footsteps were swallowed by the oppressive silence. The tunnel stretched before her, twisting and turning like a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be revealed. As she ventured deeper, a chilling realization washed over her. This tunnel had been constructed with purpose. The walls bore markings, crude symbols that hinted at desperation and survival. It was a stark reminder that the migrant camp was not just a place of refuge. It was a battleground of human existence. Each symbol told a story, and Maria was determined to decode them. With each new discovery, Maria faced renewed skepticism from the authorities. The ranger who had first uncovered the tunnel was supportive, but even he cautioned her against pursuing the case too aggressively. "You have to understand, Maria," he said, his voice laced with concern. "This case has been closed for decades. The past is a dangerous place to revisit." But Maria refused to be deterred. She reached out to former residents of the camp, those few who had survived the chaos of that fateful night. Their stories were fragmented, often contradicting one another, but they shared a common thread: fear of a powerful figure who had orchestrated the camp's downfall. A shadowy presence loomed over their memories, and whispers of corruption and betrayal surfaced. As she pieced together the fragments of their accounts, Maria began to notice a disturbing pattern. A man named Eduardo kept appearing in conversations, a figure who had once claimed to be a guardian of the camp. Yet his actions spoke of something much darker. The more she learned, the more she felt a connection to him, as if he held the key to unlocking the truth of that tragic night. Fueled by a growing sense of urgency, Maria decided to confront Eduardo. She tracked him down to a remote location, one where the remnants of the past were still visible, crumbling under the weight of time. As she approached, a chill ran down her spine. This was not just a meeting. It was a reckoning. Maria's heart raced as she knocked on the door, the sound echoing in the stillness. She was no longer just a sister seeking answers. She was a force determined to unearth the truth no matter the cost. The door creaked open, and there stood Eduardo, a man whose presence was as unsettling as the shadows that surrounded them. His eyes narrowed as he took in the woman before him, and in that moment Maria felt the weight of the past pressing down on her. What secrets would Eduardo reveal? And would Maria be ready for the truth that lay ahead? The answers she sought could either shatter the fragile hope she clung to, or finally grant her the closure she desperately needed. As she stepped into the darkness of that old house, the walls seemed to whisper the names of the lost, a haunting reminder that the past is never truly buried. The confrontation was imminent, and the shadows that had haunted her for so long were about to reveal their deepest secrets. As Maria stepped inside, the air thickened with tension. Eduardo shifted, his demeanor a mix of discomfort and guardedness. The room was dimly lit, filled with remnants of a life long forgotten. Maria knew she had to tread carefully. She took a deep breath, steadying her resolve. "Eduardo, I need to talk to you about the camp, about what happened that night." Her voice was firm, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of desperation. He flinched, the mention of the camp seemingly piercing through his carefully constructed facade. "What do you think you know, Maria?" His tone was defensive, yet a flicker of something. Fear, perhaps, crossed his face. "I know that people disappeared. I know that you were there. I just want the truth." Each word felt like a pebble thrown into a still pond, rippling outwards, challenging the surface of the past. Eduardo's expression hardened. "Sometimes the truth is better left buried. You might not like what you find." Maria felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Was he hinting at something darker? "I need to understand," she pressed. "For my sister. For the others." His gaze shifted to the floor, contemplating. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. Finally he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't know what you're asking for." Those who went looking didn't come back. A shiver ran through Maria. Was this a warning or a threat? She could feel her heart racing, the urge to flee battling with the need for answers. "Then tell me what you know. If there's a chance to find them, I have to take it." Eduardo hesitated, glancing towards a window as if fearing unseen eyes. "It's not just about the camp. There were things happening, things that shouldn't have been allowed." Maria leaned in closer, her breath hitching in her throat. "What things? Please, you have to tell me." He looked at her, the weight of the years heavy in his gaze. There were tunnels, hidden places beneath the camp. People used them to move things, to hide things. If you dig deeper, you might just uncover something you wish you hadn't. Maria's mind raced. The tunnels. The ranger had found one, but what lay beneath? A network of secrets and shadows. Her instincts screamed that this was the key, the new lead she needed. Eduardo stood, the urgency in his body language palpable. "You're in over your head, Maria. You don't know who you're dealing with. They still watch the area even now." "I don't care," she insisted, her voice trembling with conviction. "I can't turn back now. I need to know what happened to my sister." As she spoke, the weight of his warning hung in the air. In that moment, Maria realized that she was no longer just a sister searching for closure. She was stepping into a labyrinth of darkness, where truth and danger intertwined. Eduardo's eyes flickered with a mix of fear and something else, perhaps regret. "If you go looking for the truth, be prepared. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again." With that, he turned away, leaving Maria alone in the dim room, her heart racing. She felt the shadows closing in around her, her resolve hardening. The hidden tunnels beckoned, whispering promises of answers. But she knew, with every step she took, she risked awakening a darkness that had long been sleeping. The investigation had begun, but the twists ahead could lead her into a world far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. She had to move quickly, for the truth was buried deep, and time was running out. Maria spent the next few days consumed by the investigation. She pored over old newspaper clippings and police reports, searching for any connections that might lead her closer to the truth about her sister's disappearance. Each article she read was a reminder of the vanished migrant camp, the families who had once filled its grounds with laughter and hope, now only a haunting memory. Her sister's face stared back at her from the faded photographs, a constant reminder of the pain that had lingered for decades. The hidden tunnel found by the ranger had ignited a flicker of hope within her, but Maria knew she needed more than just hope. She needed a plan. Her search led her to the local library, where she uncovered maps of the area from the time of the camp. The tunnels were not marked, but she believed they ran beneath the very ground where families had lived and disappeared. As she traced the lines of the maps with her finger, she recalled Eduardo's warning. A sense of dread crept in, but she pushed it aside. She had come too far to turn back now. With every piece of information, Maria felt the weight of a growing unease, as if she were being watched. Late at night, when the world outside was quiet, her phone buzzed with anonymous messages warning her to stop digging. But the fear only fueled her determination. Days turned into weeks, and Maria managed to connect with others who had also lost loved ones from the camp. They shared stories of strange occurrences and whispered rumors about the land where the camp once thrived. Some spoke of night terrors, others of seeing shadows moving in the darkness, always just out of reach. Each shared fear added to the tapestry of mystery surrounding her sister's fate. Fueled by the stories of others, Maria decided to explore the area surrounding the ranger's discovery. She gathered a small group of trusted friends who understood the stakes. They set out at dawn, armed with flashlights and a sense of purpose. As they approached the entrance of the tunnel, an overwhelming silence enveloped them. Maria felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up as she peered into the darkness. The tunnel loomed before them, a gaping maw that seemed to promise both answers and peril. Just as they stepped inside, the ground began to tremble beneath their feet. A distant sound echoed through the tunnel, a deep rumble that sent chills down Maria's spine. She turned to her friends, their faces illuminated by the weak glow of their flashlights, each mirroring her own apprehension. But there was no turning back. As they ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. The tunnel twisted and turned, revealing remnants of what seemed to be a hidden world, discarded belongings, faded photographs, and even a child's toy. Then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A shadow darted across the wall, disappearing into a deeper recess of the tunnel. Heart racing, Maria exchanged looks with her friends, each silently questioning if they should continue. But she pressed on, following the faint sound of footsteps that echoed through the darkness. What she would find could shatter everything she thought she knew. In that moment, Maria understood that the truth was not just waiting to be uncovered. It was a living thing, breathing just out of reach, ready to confront her. The deeper they went, the more Maria felt the walls closing in, both physically and metaphorically. She was not just searching for her sister. She was unraveling a web of lies that had ensnared many. With each step, she braced herself for the inevitable revelation that awaited her. As they rounded a corner, Maria's breath caught in her throat. Ahead, a faint light flickered in the distance. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a mix of fear and anticipation. This was the moment she had been preparing for, yet it filled her with an unsettling dread. What awaited her beyond that light? The truth was close, but at what cost? As Maria approached the flickering light, a chill ran down her spine. The tunnel opened up into a larger chamber, the faint glow illuminating a series of crude drawings etched into the stone walls. These images depicted scenes of hardship, survival, and what appeared to be the faces of individuals long lost to the shadows of time. With each step, the eerie silence was broken only by the sound of dripping water, amplifying the tension that coiled within her. The light source drew her nearer, revealing a makeshift campfire, surrounded by remnants of clothing and personal belongings. Maria's heart sank as she recognized a piece of fabric, one she had seen her sister wear all those years ago. But it was more than just the fabric that caught her attention. It was a collection of items strewn about, each one telling a story of lives interrupted. A child's toy, a weathered photograph, and a journal, its pages yellowed with age. Maria knelt down, trembling as she opened the journal. The handwriting was frantic, filled with desperate pleas and accounts of fear, betrayal, and a struggle for freedom. As she read, a sense of urgency gripped her. This was not merely a record of survival. It was a testament to something far more sinister. Whispers of a hidden network, hints of a human trafficking operation, and coded messages that spoke of a missing person. Her sister among them. Maria's mind raced. Had they been part of a larger conspiracy? Were other families suffering as hers had? Just then a noise echoed from the tunnel behind her, sharp and unsettling. Maria's pulse quickened. She had come too far to turn back now. Gathering her courage, she pressed deeper into the cavern, drawn by an inexplicable pull. The flickering light cast shadows that danced around her, each one feeling alive, almost sentient. In the far corner of the chamber, something caught her eye. A door, half hidden behind a pile of debris. It was old but sturdy, as if it had been built to withstand the test of time. Maria approached cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She could sense that whatever lay beyond this door could either hold the key to her sister's fate, or plunge her deeper into darkness. But just as she reached for the doorknob, the sound of footsteps echoed in the tunnel again, closer this time. Maria froze, her heart racing as adrenaline coursed through her veins. The reality of her situation crashed over her like a wave. She wasn't alone. Someone else was here, someone who might not want her to discover what lay behind that door. Time stood still as she weighed her options. Should she confront whatever was lurking in the shadows, or should she retreat and regroup? The truth was within reach, but so was danger. Maria knew she had to make a choice, and it had to be fast. The walls of the tunnel felt like they were closing in, and with every second that passed, the shadows grew thicker, more menacing. Maria steeled herself, her thoughts racing. She had come too far to turn back now. Whatever awaited her, she would face it head-on. With a deep breath, she reached for the door, ready to uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting the very darkness that had stolen her sister away all those years ago. As Maria twisted the doorknob and pushed open the heavy door, a musty scent enveloped her, mingling with the damp air of the tunnel. Inside, the dim light flickered, revealing a small, cluttered room filled with old furniture and boxes long forgotten. Her heart raced as she stepped inside, her eyes scanning the walls, searching for anything that could shed light on her sister's disappearance. But it was what lay on a small, rickety table that drew her attention. A faded photograph, partially hidden beneath a layer of dust. Maria picked it up, her breath hitching in her throat as she recognized the faces captured in the image. It was a snapshot from years ago, a gathering of friends and family, including her sister, smiling and carefree. But standing slightly apart from the group was a man she didn't recognize, his eyes shadowed with an unsettling intensity. Suddenly, the pieces began to fall into place. This man had never been mentioned in any of the accounts of her sister's life. Who was he? And why had he been at a family gathering? With the photograph clutched tightly in her hand, Maria felt the pull of a dark secret lurking just beneath the surface, a secret that could explain everything. As she continued to sift through the contents of the room, she stumbled upon an envelope tucked away in a drawer. Its yellowed edges spoke of age, and the handwriting, a scrawl that felt all too familiar, sent chills down her spine. It was a letter addressed to her sister, filled with passionate words that twisted into a threat toward someone named David. Who was David, and why did her sister feel compelled to hide this correspondence? Maria's mind raced, her heart pounding with the weight of this new information. It appeared her sister had been living a double life, entangled in something much darker than anyone had ever imagined. The joyous memories of family gatherings now felt like a deceptive facade, hiding the turmoil that had been brewing beneath. With renewed determination, Maria sought out David, piecing together her sister's hidden relationships and the secrets that lay buried within their lives. She reached out to friends and acquaintances, only to encounter an unsettling wall of silence. It seemed that no one wanted to discuss her sister's past, as if the mere mention of David cast an ominous shadow over their memories. But Maria refused to back down. She understood now that her sister's disappearance was tied to more than just a simple abduction. It was a complex web of lies, betrayal, and danger that had ensnared her sister in its grip. Each conversation felt like a step closer to unveiling a conspiracy that extended far beyond their family, a connection to something sinister lurking just beyond her reach. Then one evening, as she dug deeper into the past, she received an anonymous tip, a message left on her car windshield that read, "Stop looking for the truth, Maria. It's not what you think." The chilling words sent a shiver down her spine, and she realized the peril she had unwittingly invited into her life. The truth behind her sister's disappearance was not just hidden, it was protected by someone who would stop at nothing to keep it buried. Maria's quest for answers had awakened forces she could never have anticipated, and now she stood at a critical crossroads. Would she push forward into the shadows, or was it time to reconsider her relentless pursuit? With each passing day, the pressure intensified and the stakes grew higher. There was no turning back now. The darkness of her sister's past was calling her, and Maria knew she had to confront it, no matter the cost. She was not just searching for closure, she was on the brink of uncovering a truth that could shatter everything she believed about her sister and the life they once shared. Maria knew she couldn't let fear dictate her next steps. Her sister deserved answers, and the unresolved questions haunted her every waking moment. The anonymous message weighed heavily on her mind, but she resolved to press on, believing that clarity lay just beyond the next turn of the investigation. Days turned into weeks as she meticulously combed through old newspaper articles and public records, desperate for any piece of information that could lead her to the truth. Each name and address she uncovered opened a new door to a world that had been previously unknown to her, a world filled with whispers of the past and shadows of forgotten lives. Then one afternoon, while poring over documents in the local library, Maria stumbled upon a name that made her blood run cold. Rafael Mendoza. He was a figure associated with the Migrant camp, a man who had been arrested for smuggling and trafficking activities in the late 1980s. The details surrounding his case were murky, but one thing was clear. He had been deeply involved in a network that exploited vulnerable migrants, and his connection to the camp was undeniable. Determined to learn more, Maria started tracking down anyone who might have known Rafael. She visited local taverns and community centers, speaking to anyone who would listen. Many were hesitant to discuss him, their faces clouded with fear and concern. Some simply shook their heads and walked away, as if the name alone carried a weight they were unwilling to bear. Then she met an elderly woman named Lucia, who, unlike others, seemed willing to share her story. Lucia's eyes sparkled with a mix of sorrow and resolve as she recounted her memories of the camp and Rafael's menacing presence. He was a man with power, Lucia warned, and he had friends in high places, people who wouldn't want the truth to come out. Maria listened intently as Lucia spoke of strange happenings in the camp, disappearances that were hushed up, families broken apart, and whispers of a hidden tunnel used for smuggling. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together, but the deeper Maria delved, the more she realized the danger she was inviting. That night, as she returned home, Maria felt a watchful gaze follow her. The shadows seemed thicker, and the silence more pronounced. She had uncovered a trail that could lead her to the truth, but it also painted a target on her back. With renewed determination, Maria made a decision. She would confront Rafael Mendoza. She needed to know if he held the key to her sister's disappearance, or if he was merely another layer in a conspiracy that ran deeper than she could imagine. It was time to face the darkness head-on, but as she prepared to track him down, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that she was being drawn into a web woven with secrets and lies. Unbeknownst to her, Rafael was aware of her investigation. He had eyes everywhere, and the moment Maria began to dig, the stakes were raised significantly. This was no longer just a search for answers. It was a battle against a formidable opponent, one who would stop at nothing to protect his empire of silence. As Maria plotted her next move, she felt the weight of her sister's memory urging her onward. The truth was within reach, but the path was fraught with peril. Would she uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the shadows, or would the very forces she sought to expose ensnare her in their grasp? The answers awaited, but they would come at a cost. Maria steeled herself for the confrontation with Rafael Mendoza. The man was a ghost in the community, a figure shrouded in whispers and fear. For years, he had held dominion over the migrant camp, and now he was the key to unraveling a mystery that had haunted her family for decades. With each step she took towards his last known location, Maria felt the weight of her sister's absence pressing down on her. The memories of laughter and warmth were overshadowed by the chilling reality that something sinister had occurred. She arrived at the dilapidated warehouse that Rafael frequented, a place known to harbor secrets and illicit activities. As she approached the entrance, she recalled the stories of those who had disappeared without a trace. It was said that once you entered the underbelly of this operation, there was no turning back. Yet the thought of her sister's face fueled her resolve. She would not allow fear to paralyze her any longer. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Shadows danced along the walls, and the faint sound of hushed voices echoed through the corridor. Maria moved stealthily, her heart racing as she scanned for Rafael. Just then, she overheard snippets of conversation that sent chills down her spine. Words like shipment, clean up, and no witnesses hung heavy in the air. Maria's pulse quickened as she pieced together the implications of what she was hearing. This was more than a simple disappearance. It was part of a larger, darker operation that had ensnared countless lives. She had no doubt that Rafael was at the center of it. Summoning her courage, she decided to confront him directly. As she turned the corner, her breath caught in her throat. There he was, leaning against a wall surrounded by a group of men whose faces were unfamiliar, yet their demeanor was menacing. Maria's instincts screamed at her to retreat, but she pressed forward, determined to find answers. "Raphael," she called, her voice steady, though her heart raced. The group turned to face her, surprise flickering across their faces. Raphael's expression shifted from shock to amusement, a sly smile creeping onto his lips. "What brings you here, little girl?" he taunted, his tone dripping with condescension. Maria stepped closer, unwilling to back down. "I want to know what happened to my sister," she demanded. "You know something, you have to tell me." The laughter that erupted from the men sent a wave of unease through her. Raphael leaned in, his gaze piercing. "You have no idea what you're asking for," he said softly, yet with a chilling undertone. "Some things are better left buried." In that moment, Maria felt the gravity of the situation tighten around her. She realized that Raphael was not just a man with information. He was the gatekeeper to a world she was not yet ready to confront. His warning echoed ominously in her mind, and she understood that to pursue the truth further could lead her into a darkness from which she might never return. As she turned to leave, the tension in the room shifted. The men exchanged glances, and Maria could sense that her presence was no longer welcome. She needed to regroup, to formulate a plan, but time was running out. She was aware that every second she delayed could mean putting herself and her family's safety at risk. As she stepped outside, a wave of realization washed over her. The hidden tunnel was not just a passage to the past. It could be the key to exposing the entire operation. Maria knew she had to return to the site of the discovery and investigate further, but the question loomed over her. Would Raphael let her uncover the truth, or would he pull the strings from the shadows, ensuring that the secrets of the migrant camp remained buried forever? Determined, Maria made her way back to the site of the hidden tunnel. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. Each step felt heavier, burdened by the weight of unspoken threats and unanswered questions. Her heart raced, knowing that she was on the brink of something monumental, yet terrifying. As she approached the entrance of the tunnel, the air grew cooler, the sounds of the outside world muffled by the thick walls of earth and stone. Maria hesitated for a moment, contemplating the danger that lurked within. But she pushed her fear aside. She had come too far to turn back now. With a flashlight in hand, she entered the tunnel, its walls damp and rough against her fingertips. The beam of light illuminated the space ahead, revealing remnants of old graffiti, messages left by those who had once sought refuge within these dark confines. Each mark told a story, a silent testament to lives once lived, now shrouded in mystery. As she delved deeper, the tunnel twisted and turned, revealing hidden alcoves and passages that felt like a maze. Maria's pulse quickened as she stumbled upon discarded items, clothes, personal belongings, echoes of the lives that had vanished without a trace. She knelt to examine a worn backpack, its contents a chilling reminder of the hurried departures that had once taken place. Suddenly her flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Had she heard something? A distant sound? She strained to listen, her heart pounding in her ears. The silence enveloped her, yet a sense of foreboding lingered in the air, as if the very walls were whispering secrets she was not meant to hear. In that moment of stillness, Maria remembered Raphael's warning. She felt an unsettling presence, a creeping sense that she was not alone. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but the lure of the truth was intoxicating. Compelled by a force she couldn't understand, she pressed on, deeper into the darkness. As she turned a corner, the tunnel opened into a larger chamber. The walls were lined with markings, strange symbols that hinted at something more sinister than she had imagined. Maria's heart raced as she pieced together the fragments of history that surrounded her. This was not just a tunnel. It was a relic of a hidden world, one filled with secrets that could unravel everything she thought she knew. But just as she began to explore the chamber, a noise echoed through the darkness. It was the unmistakable sound of footsteps, Heavy, deliberate, approaching fast. Panic surged through her veins. Maria's instinct kicked in. She needed to hide. She scanned the room for a place to conceal herself, her pulse quickening as the footsteps grew closer. The shadows shifted and she pressed herself against the cold stone wall, praying to remain undetected. Her mind raced with possibilities. Who could it be? Was it Raphael, come to silence her? Or perhaps someone even more dangerous, intent on keeping the past buried at all costs? As the footsteps entered the chamber, Maria held her breath, caught in a moment of suspense, teetering on the edge of discovery or disaster. The truth was close, but so was the danger that came with it. In the darkness, she clung to the hope that her quest for answers would not end here, in this hidden chamber, with shadows looming over her future. The footsteps halted. Maria could feel the weight of the silence pressing down on her, each second stretching into an eternity. She dared not move, her heart pounding in her ears. The faint light from the tunnel entrance cast eerie shadows, and she strained to hear any sound that might give her a clue about who was there. Suddenly, a voice broke the stillness. It was low and gravelly, reverberating off the chamber walls. "I know you're here," it said, laced with a menacing calmness. Maria's stomach dropped. The voice was unfamiliar, but the threat was palpable. "You need to leave. You're not supposed to be here." Maria's mind raced. This was not a mere trespasser. This was someone who understood the significance of this place, someone who had a stake in keeping its secrets. She carefully shifted her weight, trying to inch further into the shadows. The figure stepped closer, his silhouette growing clearer in the dim light. Maria could see the outline of a man, rugged and imposing, with something dark glinting in his hand. As he scanned the room, she felt a surge of dread. This was no random encounter. This man was a guardian of the secrets that had haunted her family for decades. Maria's thoughts flashed to her mother's stories, the hushed tones, the warnings about those who might still be involved in the disappearance. Could this man be one of them? In a moment of desperation, she recalled the folder filled with notes, photographs, and timelines she had meticulously assembled over the years. It contained not only her findings, but also the fears of a daughter unwilling to let her mother's past remain a mystery. That folder was her lifeline, a testament to the truth she sought, and now it felt more vital than ever. Gathering her courage, she took a deep breath and prepared to confront the man in the shadows. "Who are you? What do you know about this place?" she called out, her voice trembling but resolute. The man turned sharply, his expression unreadable in the half-light. "You shouldn't have come here," he replied, a hint of warning lacing his words. "There are things you don't understand, things that will put you in danger." Maria felt a rush of anger rise within her. "I'm not afraid of danger. I'm looking for the truth about what happened to my family. You can't keep me from it." For a moment, the tension in the air crackled like electricity. The man's eyes narrowed, and for a fleeting instant, Maria saw a flicker of something. Fear, perhaps, before he masked it with indifference. "You think you're ready for the truth? You have no idea what you're asking for." His words hung heavily between them, a chilling reminder of the stakes at play. Maria's determination swelled. She couldn't back down now. The weight of her mother's memory propelled her forward, and she felt a fierce resolve solidifying within her. "I don't care what you think I'm ready for. I will uncover what happened here, with or without your help," she asserted, pushing through the fear. The man chuckled darkly, a sound devoid of humor. "Then I suggest you tread carefully. Some truths are buried for a reason, and you may find more than you bargained for." With that, he turned, fading back into the darkness, leaving Maria alone with the heavy silence of the chamber. As she stood there, the echoes of his warning ringing in her ears, she realized the gravity of her pursuit. This was not just a quest for answers. It was a descent into a labyrinth of lies and danger. She had to uncover the layers of deceit surrounding the migrant camp and its disappearance, a truth that might shatter her understanding of her family's past. Determined, she pulled out her phone, the light illuminating the chamber once more. It was time to dig deeper, to connect the dots that had eluded her for so long. But as she stepped out of the hidden chamber, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike. The hunt for answers was just beginning, and with every step she took, the shadows of the past loomed ever closer. The next phase of her investigation would not just reveal the truth. It could put her life at risk in ways she had yet to comprehend. Maria emerged from the hidden chamber, her heart pounding in her chest as the weight of her discovery pressed heavily upon her. With each step, the echoes of her family's history grew louder in her mind, intertwined with the secrets of the migrant camp that had vanished without a trace. The trail had led her here, to a place steeped in darkness and uncertainty, but now she felt the urgency of her mission. She needed to find out who had been involved in the camp's disappearance, and why. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone knew more than they were letting on, and as she glanced over her shoulder, her unease deepened. The first place she decided to go was the local library, a repository of old newspapers and records that could shed light on the migrant camp and its residents. As she sifted through the dusty archives, she uncovered articles detailing the lives of those who had once called the camp home. Their stories painted a picture of hope and struggle, of families searching for a better life. But then, as she delved deeper into the reports, she stumbled upon something troubling. A series of allegations regarding local authorities turning a blind eye to the camp's desperate conditions. Maria couldn't believe what she was reading. The same officials who had closed the case were now implicated in a web of negligence and corruption. She wondered if this was the reason the camp had vanished so suddenly. Had the authorities orchestrated a cover-up? The thought sent chills down her spine. Determined to pursue this lead, Maria sought out the families of those who had lived in the camp. Many had moved away, but she managed to track down a few who still resided in the area. Each conversation revealed fragments of a larger picture, whispers of unrest and fear, as if the very mention of the camp stirred up a storm of memories best left undisturbed. However, not everyone welcomed her inquiries. One former resident, a man named Hector, recoiled at the mention of the camp and urged her to stop digging. He spoke in hushed tones, expressing fears that had lingered long after the camp's disappearance. "Some things are best left buried," he warned, a look of panic etched across his face. It was clear that the past haunted him, but Maria's resolve only grew stronger. As she continued her investigation, the pieces began to fit together. The tunnel she had discovered was more than just a hidden passage. It was a potential conduit for smuggling or worse. If the authorities had been involved, could it be that the people who vanished were more than just casualties of neglect? Maria's mind raced with the implications, each theory more sinister than the last. Late one night, while poring over her notes, a thought struck her. Could it be that someone from the community knew more than they had revealed? She recalled a name that kept surfacing in her interviews. A local businessman who had been present during the camp's final days. His connections with law enforcement raised red flags, and Maria felt a surge of adrenaline. She decided to confront him, but she knew she had to be careful. The risks were mounting, and with each passing day she felt the weight of unseen eyes upon her. As she prepared for the meeting, she felt a mix of fear and determination. This confrontation could either lead her to the truth or put her in grave danger. Maria knew she was at the precipice of a revelation that might alter everything. The truth she sought was within reach, but the darkness surrounding it threatened to engulf her. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for what lay ahead. The shadows of the past were closing in, and soon she would confront the very heart of the mystery that had haunted her family for decades. As Maria entered the dimly lit office of the local businessman, the air felt thick with tension. The man greeted her with a practiced smile, but Maria saw through it. She presented the evidence she had gathered, pieces of the puzzle that painted a picture far darker than anyone had anticipated. The businessman's facade began to crack as she pressed him with questions. It was then that the truth spilled out, not in a confession, but in a slip of the tongue. He had known more than he let on. Over the years, he had used his connections to bury the truth beneath layers of deceit. The disappearance of her sister was not just an unfortunate event. It was part of a larger, chilling conspiracy, involving cover-ups, manipulation, and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals within the community. With each revelation, the weight of the past began to lift. Maria, fueled by grief and justice, took her findings to the authorities. Skepticism turned to urgency, as the police re-examined the case with fresh eyes. The businessman, once untouchable, now faced scrutiny that he could no longer evade. As the investigation deepened, other victims began to emerge, victims of a system that had failed them, victims whose stories intertwined with her sister's. In a dramatic turn of events, the businessman was brought in for questioning. Faced with undeniable evidence, he could no longer hide behind his power and influence. The local news reported his arrest, and for the first time in decades, the community was forced to confront its dark underbelly. Maria stood before the cameras, a mixture of relief and sorrow etched across her face. While the fight for justice was far from over, she had finally unearthed the truth about her sister. Closure was bittersweet. The pain of loss would never fully fade, but at least now she could honor her sister's memory with the dignity it deserved. As the investigation unfolded, Maria reflected on the journey that had brought her here. This case was not just about one person's disappearance. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of truth and the relentless pursuit of justice. In a world where shadows often obscure the light, the courage to seek answers can illuminate paths previously thought lost. In the end, it was not only about solving a mystery, it was about reclaiming a voice that had been silenced for too long. Maria had stepped into the darkness and emerged stronger, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As she looked out at the community now rallying around the call for justice, she knew the fight was far from over. But she also knew that the truth, once revealed, could never be hidden again. What secrets lie beneath the surface of your community? What truths are waiting to be uncovered? The shadows may be deep, but the light of inquiry can shine through.